Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be making some Tib bars. That is, we're going to be training this muscle. All right everyone, let me give you a little bit of a background on the Knees Over Toes guy. Basically, he's come up with a program where he's advertising that you can make your body as bulletproof as possible. He strengthens your body when you are at your end range of motion, namely in the knees over toes position, which is not a very well-trained position. So he focuses on a lot of areas of the body that some people overlook. And in this case, on this video, I'm going to show you guys how he trains the tibialis muscle. The tibialis muscle is the opposite muscle to the calf. Nobody ever trains that. So it makes sense that you would want your body to be well balanced. People work their biceps and their triceps. They work their quads and their hamstrings. Why not work your calves as well as your tibialis muscle? There have been a lot of people that have been taking Ben Patrick, the Knees Over Toes guy's program, and have claimed to have quite a bit of reduction in knee pain, as well as some people who have claimed that they were going to have knee surgery, and then after having taken the Knees Over Toes guy's program, they no longer have to have knee surgery. It's also helped some people recover post-knee surgery. He collaborated with these guys called the Home Gym guys, and they came up with this device that they call the Tib Bar, which they sell commercially. And it's a great product. The only issue with it is that it's $170. Don't get me wrong, the product is fantastic and the design is great. I just think it's a little bit too expensive for me. So I'm gonna try and make a couple cheaper options that are either gonna be stronger, cheaper, or potentially both. There's already a YouTube channel out there called the PD Project who's made a PVC version of the Tib Bar. PVC, dowels, and some screws. And he has a YouTube video that shows you exactly how to make it. He also sells his commercially online and he'll ship it to you. But I just wanted to give you guys some other alternatives that you can make out of wood and steel in order to make it more accessible to all of you guys. So stick around and check out the first project. The first thing that I did in this project is I took some pipe clamps that I had in my shop and I decided to cut the ends off of them. Using my foot as an accurate measuring tool, I marked out how long I wanted each piece to be. I needed 4 pieces that are between 5 and 6 inches long, and 1 piece that's between 7 and 8 inches long. Then I took my 8-inch piece of pipe and using my concrete weights as a measuring tool, I marked out where I wanted my holes to be placed. After that, I took my pipe over to the drill press and drilled my holes, making sure to file down all the excess burrs that got created in the process. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be building these 3 assemblies. The first assembly is for the top footrest, and it will have 2 6-inch pieces of pipe, a T connector, and a closed nipple. The second assembly will have 2 5 to 6 inch long pieces of pipe, a T connector, and a 1.5 to 2 inch piece of pipe, depending on how long your foot is. The third assembly will have our 8-inch piece of pipe with our holes drilled into it, connected to a floor flange. On the other side of that is a closed nipple and then a T connector. Finally, we have our hitch pin. To put this thing together, we're going to take our third assembly that holds the weights and our second assembly with the 2-inch piece of pipe, and we're going to thread that 2-inch pipe into the middle of our T connector. After that's threaded on, we're going to take our final piece and we're going to thread that into the final hole of that T connector. Once that's in place and tightened up, this thing's pretty much done. Once this is all tight, we can put in our hitch pin and we can use it as is if we wanted to. It works pretty good. All right guys, we're pretty much done with this Tib Bar. And the final step is to take some foam or rubber, which I got from Lowe's or Home Depot over in the irrigation section, cut 2 pieces and put them on the pieces of black pipe that would rest on your top side of your foot. That way you have a little bit of a cushion when you're using this thing as opposed to just having your foot dig into, steel pipe directly. So I'm gonna cut a couple pieces of that and that should be it. first of all, I know my hair is getting long and crazy, but let's try to look past that for a minute here. I'm gonna show you guys how to make 2 more versions of the Tib Bar. One, the same as this first version that I made out of steel, and the second one is gonna be a single leg version. The only materials that I'm gonna be using for this is 1 2x6 and 2 pieces of dowels, along with some screws. So all in all, this costs about 15 bucks to make 2 Tib Bars. It's, I think, the cheapest version that you can make. So let's get into the build. So first, let's tackle the double leg version, same as the first Tib Bar that we made. In order to make that one, we need 1 piece of 2x6 that's 8 inches long. Then we're gonna have 2 pieces of 2x6 that are between 4 and 6 inches long. We're just gonna put a small hole into one of them, and the other piece will be for thickness. After we have those cut, we're gonna drill a 1 1/4 inch hole into the 2x6 that's 4 inches long. Now in the other 2x6 that's 8 inches long, I'm gonna use the first Tib Bar that I made to trace out where the holes should be for the dowels that'll act as your footrests. Once I have those drawn out, I'm gonna use the 1 1/4 inch Forstner bit to create the holes where those dowels will go through. After I cut my leg pieces and struggled to get the dowel into the hole, I used a mallet to persuade the pieces to go in all the way. Don't screw up like I did and break off a piece of the wood. I decided that the proper solution to fix that error that I made was just to bang it in harder. And it worked. The wood split. Good thing I had that backup piece. I pre-drilled the holes 90 degrees from where I did the last time. This is because I wanted the grain direction to go horizontally instead of vertically like I did before. This should help prevent it from splitting. Grain orientation matters. I cut the dowel to length, marked where I wanted the holes to be, and drilled 1/4 inch holes into the dowel on my drill press. That way, when it fits in, I can reuse my hitch pin that I had in my other design. And now this guy's pretty much done. I added 15 pounds of weight just to make sure everything fits, and it holds up just fine. I took some 2x6s, marked out where everything was going to fit together, and then marked where I wanted the dowel to be. I pre-drilled some holes into the ends of the dowels, as well as into the 2x6s. I drilled my screw into the 2x6, lined it up with the dowel, and then screwed it in all the way. Once I had the first side done, I just had to mark and pre-drill a hole for the second side and drill it in the same way. Next, I pre-drilled the hole where I wanted the dowel to be that holds the weights. I probably should have done this earlier on so I didn't have to take things apart. I went to the drill press, drilled an 1 1/4 size hole, and also drilled all the 1/4 inch holes into the dowel that'll hold the weights. Finally, it's time to reassemble everything. I put that 2x6 back into its spot and then put the dowel in. And it can hold the weight just fine. All right, now let's talk about all the different Tib Bar options. First of all, if you want to go with the most expensive option, it's also the most professional option. Go to the Home Gym Guy's website. I'll leave a link down below, and you can get their products for $170. The next most expensive option is probably my version of the Home Gym Guy's Tib Bar. This one, made out of steel pipes, steel connectors, some foam rubber, and a couple pieces of plywood and a hitch pin. If you were to go out and buy each of these leg pieces as 6-inch pieces of pipe, and then if you wanted to go a little bit more above and beyond and put end caps, at least on the top two, to keep the foam in place, then you'd be spending a little over $50. I do believe it's just as strong as the Home Gym Guy's design. So this comes in second place. In third place, we have the PD Project's PVC design if you were to buy it from him. If you were to make it yourself, I think it would be a little bit cheaper. There's a lot more pieces involved than there is in my steel pipe design. It can also only hold Olympic plates, whereas mine can hold standard and Olympic, so keep that in mind. But go ahead and check that out. The next most expensive option is a resistance band. You can get a 4-pack of these for $30, or you can buy them individually for $10, $15. And all you need to do with these is tie them to something stable. In this instance, I'm gonna be using the leg of my dining table, and I'm just gonna wrap it around and then loop it through on itself, wrap it around your toe, and start pulling. And the nice thing about this is you can actually get 2 levels of difficulty out of 1 resistance band. Instead of wrapping it single-ended, you can just loop it around and have both ends tied to your foot. Now you've got 4 bands wrapped around your foot instead of 2. And again, resistance bands are super versatile as well. I use them for all sorts of exercises that aren't the topic of this video, but I love having my resistance bands. The next most expensive option, I would say, is the floss bands. I got mine from Wad Fitters. I'll have a link down in the description below, but you can get these from anywhere. You can get them as a single pack or as a double pack, I believe. And these, I believe, are very versatile. You can use them not only for a tib bar raise by putting a dumbbell on the bottom of your feet, but you can use them for a variety of different things. You can actually use them as intended, use it for compression on your joints. The only bummer about them is that it's a bit cumbersome to put them on, take them off. There's a lot of winding and unwinding, and for that reason, I like some of the other options that I've given you guys, but this is definitely an option if you just want to go out and buy something, you don't want to build something, and you just want to use it to strap a dumbbell to your foot. So check these out for sure. The next most expensive option, in my case, is a kettlebell. This kettlebell here, it's a 5-pounder. For $2 a pound, this would cost 10 bucks nowadays. And you can definitely use it. I had trouble getting it on my feet because I have size 13 feet. This is a very small opening, but other kettlebells have much larger openings. You can also make your own DIY kettlebell. I might do that in a future video. This one, if you already have kettlebells, then you're set and you don't need to buy anything. That's how it's probably the cheapest option. The way where it's potentially the most expensive option is if you go and get different weights for all the increments that you want to use as a kettlebell and for tib bar raises. But they'll be versatile, multi-use. You'll be able to do tons of exercises with them. They're probably a good investment in the long run anyways. Yeah, keep this one in mind. Then the cheapest option as far as what you can build are both of the wood tib bars that I made. This one and this one, they both use roughly a similar amount of material. This one uses more dowels, this one uses more 2x6s, but all in all, it probably cost $6, $7 in material, and you'll have a lot of extra material. That's per item, by the way. I spent $15, made both of these, and had extra material left over. So yeah, this is the cheapest option by far if you're going to go with some DIY version. The absolute cheapest option for you is to not use anything at all. Before you get upset at me for spending all this time on a video and then saying don't use any of the things I just told you about, the absolute beginner method of getting into adding some resistance to your tibialis muscles and training them is to actually just lean up against the wall and start raising your toes. You'll be able to do quite a few, and in that case, you're actually training for more endurance in your tibialis muscles and not so much strength. That's where I think these ways of adding weight will come in handy a bit more. Keep in mind, there is a way that you can just train your tibialis muscles a little bit more than you have been. And if you want to go strength training on your tibialis muscles, then I've got tons of DIY options here for you. And I've gone through and showed you what's the most expensive, what's the least expensive. And yeah, pick and choose the one that makes sense for you. Although I haven't maxed out the amount of weight that you can put on these wooden tib bars, the design is basically the same as what I did in my weight tree video. And on this, I was able to load up to 3 plates on one dowel. That's 135 pounds. I did reinforce it with a screw, but rest assured, you'll be able to load more than enough weight on these wooden tib bars. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're interested in more videos from me, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, we're pretty much done with this tib bar. That was a weird way of holding it. Black steel pipe. You can, that was weird. And there you go.